Hello there and welcome back to another video, and Liverpool have played another friendly this evening. It has just finished about 2 minutes ago and it was against FSV Mainz 05 from the Bundesliga as well, and the game ended 1-0 to Liverpool. It was actually about the 86th minute. It was an own goal, a good cross by Owen Beck in the second half as well. Really, it was a nice, a nice sort of mid-level to sort of low cross into the box, and the defender for some reason just kept running, and the ball just bounced off him, sort of went in the back of the net, and just as if he couldn't control himself, as if he couldn't just stop his momentum. But the ball goes in, 1-0. It's a win for Liverpool in pre-season. Still, as it is, wins don't matter in pre-season. We've been smacked a couple of times in pre-seasons before, and to be honest, you go into the season and it's all a little bit different. It's much more competitive. This is purely about fitness, getting minutes for everybody that they can and everybody that they want involved. And for me, I think that it's been a really good run out. A couple of websites, and I should say websites, like Twitter people especially. I've mentioned about Twitter before, not the greatest fan of it, but even so, this is Anfield and stuff like that, saying that it's quite a dull game. And over the whole course of the 90 minutes, it's not the most exciting game, but it's getting valuable minutes under all of these guys' belts, not just the established guys, some of the first team players that we know and cherish, but also the younger players getting a good game as well, or getting some good minutes here or there as well, and obviously the new signing in Konate as well. If I'm going to be honest, the standout player in the first half was Konate. I felt that maybe it's a little bit biased or unfair in a way, because he's a new signing. It's like getting something brand new. You want to either play with it, or you want to use it a lot, whatever it might be. You want to use that more than you've used something else that you already had. You're looking at it a bit more, you're analysing it a little bit more, and your eyes just tend, my eyes especially, I'm guilty of it a lot. When we've got a new signing or a young player that we're trying to get into the first team, get them sort of relaxed and bedded into the first team, your focus tends to go to them. It's why we look a lot of, you're looking at Harvey Elliott and how he's playing and how he's actually getting into the team, how he's linking up with the likes of a Salah, the likes of an Oxlade-Chamberlain, all those sorts of things. The same thing is happening with Konate, and you just look at what he's been doing in pre-season so far, and for me, he just has a bit of an element of oozing class. And what I mean by that is his general play is very good as a defender. Still a lot to work on in terms of positioning sometimes, but at the moment he can get away with that because that recovery pace is on display as well. He's a very physical player. He looks just a lot bigger than other players, and he's next to Matip, and Matip is a very big player as well. But I think it's also the build of Konate really sets him apart as well. But for me as well, it was his driving runs, the willingness and the lack of fear that he has at going into the midfield and wanting to lay off passes perhaps to a forward player or a further forward midfielder to sort of start advancing the play. And then he can get himself back in position in defence and the line isn't broken. You know what I mean? Like, so say if the ball gets lost, then he's in a good position to use his pace or whatever he might need to, in case there's something that's going over the top, or in case there's play that's going on around him, players trying to get the run on them. He's getting himself into position. I think his stand tackling ability as well is very good. It's noticeable purely probably because I'm focusing on it a lot when I'm watching. As I just said before, brand new player, you want to watch what they're doing all the time to see what they're going to bring to Liverpool as well. And then you start thinking, man, what's this going to be like next to Virgil van Dijk? What's this going to be like with Joe Gomez involved as well as Matip, all that sort of stuff. That was the first half. I felt that Konate was the one that really stood out. In the second half, it was much more bitty, much more bitty. What I mean by that is the play was getting broken up a lot. There was a lot of tiny little stoppages here or there, free kicks being given. There was actually a free kick near the end from Mainz as well, which Adrian had to get to. There was a moment right after kickoff, or about maybe 1 or 2 minutes after kickoff, where the ball gets played through into our box. Adrian just literally, and I'm not doing it because I know I criticise Adrian a lot, but literally Adrian just sort of like he was asleep or whatever, couldn't deal with the ball. The defence were just like, well, they're expecting the goalkeeper to, and then the defence is in a little bit of a mess, and the ball is just, it's like a goal mouth scramble from like the early 90s. It's just, it was one of those moments where you're a little bit like, I don't want to see that in the full season, like proper season. I don't want to be seeing that sort of stuff. You know, obviously we will have the likes of Alisson and all that sort of stuff back, and it won't always be on Adrian. But as a backup goalkeeper, he's played for so many years. You'd think that you've just got to have the know-how. You've got to be switched on. Maybe this is a good part of pre-season for him. Maybe try and get those mistakes out of the way. For me, I don't see Karius. I'm talking about Karius because I just looked at his name because he was on the bench. I don't see Adrian being the backup to Alisson. I think that Kelleher is going to be is good enough, more than good enough to be backup to Alisson. I really do truly believe that. And I've always said it, I truly believe that Karius, despite what happened in Madrid years ago, Karius is a better backup than Adrian as well. Whatever's going to happen with Karius, we'll come to that at some other point anyway. Right, so what I didn't do was go through the lineup. The first half lineup was really quite strong. Kelleher in goal. You had Trent, Konate, Matip and Tsimikas in the back four. Felt Tsimikas actually played a good game here as well. I don't think anyone played a bad game. I don't think anyone played a really amazing game. There's just people that stood out just that little bit more, in my opinion. Naby Keita, I felt played really well. If we can get a healthy, fit, and someone that stays as injury-free as possible as it can be for a professional athlete, for a professional footballer, Naby Keita could be excellent for Liverpool, could literally be wonderful for Liverpool. If we can get more of that, and maybe even a little bit more, he could be a mainstay in the midfield. I'm not going to turn around and say it, obviously, because they were talking a lot about Gini Wijnaldum, and could Naby Keita be the replacement? Not until he gets those injury issues sorted out. No way. Milner, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Harvey Elliott, Mohamed Salah, and Sadio Mane. That was the first half lineup, and that's a really strong lineup. They should be, in a way, disappointed they didn't create more, but also disappointed that they didn't put any goals away in the first half. And I should say as well, because the second half team was Adrian, Nico Williams, Billy Koumetio, Nat Phillips, Curtis Jones, Owen Beck, Leighton Clarkson, Jake Kane, Tyler Morton, Minamino, Divock Origi, and Cade Gordon as well, who we were all looking forward to seeing, obviously because of his how he played the other day in one of those 30-minute friendlies as well. It was okay. It's just the second half, like I said before, it took a while. There was nothing that you could get the momentum in the game. You couldn't really get like a good solid 5 minutes of just passing the ball, stuff like that. Everything just kept getting broken up. And you know what? Liverpool are going to face so much more of that, as we faced a little bit last year, quite a bit actually. Frustrating games that are going to be difficult to break down. You're going to get counted on as well. You're going to have to be switched on in all areas, and you're going to find it difficult breaking teams down. And it could just be this one small moment where fizzing or putting in a good quality cross, like Owen Beck did, putting in a good cross, and something can happen. Maybe a Liverpool player gets on the end of that. You get lucky in some instances where the opposition defender puts it in trouble. Does it go in the back of the net? Does it cause a problem between him and the goalkeeper? Is there a chance there? In this case, yes, it went in the back of the net, went off the defender. I can't remember his name. Luca Killian for FSV Mainz. All in all, positive. I think it's positive even if it was a draw, if it's a loss, whatever. I think that it's more about getting that intensity up. The intensity levels for Liverpool will start to go up a little bit more now. So we should have, I can't remember where, yes, Thursday, 29th of July, against Hertha Berlin, I think it is, or Hertha BSC, whatever they may be called these days. That'll be an interesting one as well. Interesting one. There'll be a video after that game as well. Then after that, I think we're just straight into the season. I don't think there's anything else after that. I think that is our pre-season game, our final pre-season game against Hertha Berlin. Hopefully by that point, do we start seeing a bit more? Well, do we start seeing Virgil van Dijk in general? Is he going to be ready for the season? Are they going to want to risk it? I'm not entirely sure. I think maybe is this why Konate is getting a bit more time? or he's getting quite a lot of time, a lot of game time. Is he going to play maybe a full 90 minutes before we come up against Norwich? Who knows? There's so many questions that we will have to answer as well with other players that are going to be returning. We still have to get the return of Jordan Henderson, Alisson, Fabinho, Firmino. Still many more players to come back. Diogo Jota was on the bench today, which was really, really good. So all in all, happy. How are you guys feeling about it so far? I think a lot of people are getting a little bit caught up in we need to be smacking teams. We need to be putting goals away, left, right, and centre. 4-0, 5-0, whatever we can get. Clean sheets, all the business. Let's just take it for what it is at the moment. Pre-season. This is what we are doing right now. What Liverpool are doing right now is just putting the minutes in, putting in the hard yards, as they might call it, as well, and putting in that hard work to get themselves fit and ready for the start of the Premier League season. The fact that they won it, that's a positive in itself as well, but it doesn't actually really matter at this stage. Winning only matters when it's a competitive time, when the season starts, all that sort of business. That is when we can start focusing again on the winning aspect of games. Anyway, let me know what you thought of the game in general, and what you thought of who stood out for you. Did I even say who stood out in the second half for me? I don't think I did I? I thought Kumetio actually didn't look too bad. When I say that, that sounds quite negative. I don't mean it in a negative way. I actually thought Kumetio looked quite composed and had some really good. There was at least one diagonal ball that he played right up the field, like a long way, and it was really good, really, really good. Whether we get more of that out of him, or what is going to happen with Kumetio this season as well. Obviously, Owen Beck was very positive. I felt there was just positives all around in general, and it sort of makes it look like we could have quite a good squad in general, in terms of strength, in terms of experience. Maybe some of that will come to the fore because of obviously what happened last year, all the injuries that we had, and the players that actually got to get experience last year. Take some of that into this pre-season. Can they make an impression to get anywhere near the squad, or involved with the first team as this next season comes into play? Who knows? I hope so, because it's great to see these guys, the younger guys, the fringe guys, get their chances and put themselves in contention for the first team squad as well, which is really difficult to break into. Not easy when it's it was a Champions League and a Premier League winning team. Obviously, last year we only finished third, but even so, we can be hopefully more competitive on more fronts because of the strength of this squad, without really having much money put into it this season, which is kind of what I think is going to happen. We're not really going to get any other signings, I don't think. That's my personal opinion. Might go into it in a bit more detail in a further video. Let me know what you think in the comments below anyway about this game, how you think pre-season's going for Liverpool so far, and what you're expecting against Hertha Berlin from Liverpool as well. Lineup, players involved, whatever. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you ever so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please do like it and subscribe if you're new around here. Thank you once again, and I'll catch you later.